Welcome to the podcast. This is Mr. Ish. We're here at Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club, Summer Edition, last week. That's it. I don't get to see you guys again until maybe next year, unless you come to after school. And we don't know how that's going to run yet. So, I'm here with the Black Mambas, a.k.a. the last group, a.k.a. they don't know much, a.k.a. they argue about arguments. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Thomas.
Hello, my name is Carmelo.
Hello, my name is Vector.
Okay, welcome, guys. Well, today's podcast is sponsored by me. No sponsorship today.
Cool.
I don't have no money, so I can't yell at myself. I just want to go, over some of the things that we learned. So what's some of the things that we learned in podcast this last 7 weeks? Because I did have some lesson plans. I did start from scratch. I gave you guys opportunities to talk. I gave you opportunities to do a lot of things. So let's just go around. We'll start off with Mr. Carmelo, who's raising his hand, and see what he learned.
One thing I learned in podcast is how to interview someone correctly and the proper, how to ask the proper questions when doing an interview.
Okay, how do you see that helping you besides in podcasts? How do you see that helping you maybe in something in school or in life or something like that?
If later in life when I get a little older, if I want to apply for a job before I launch my career, I would I have to be first dressed properly. And when I go apply for that job, the manager will be asking me questions.
Yeah, they're always gonna ask questions.
Obviously, yeah. So
So you're gonna be prepared on what kind of questions people are gonna ask and how to answer them properly and have follow up, stuff like that. So that's something that you learn in podcasts could also help you in life later on.
I learned that you can't do a 40-minute podcast and make it boring.
Oh, you could do a 50-minute podcast and have a great podcast, but if people don't listen to it because it's too long. So that's why if you go on, these podcast channels, there's not really too many that are long. It has to be something special or a special guest or something like that. Because something that's like 50 minutes, you may want to do like two parts of it. You might want to cut it in half and do 25 and a 25 or something like that. And even at that might be too hard. But yes, the length of the podcast is also important. That's like if you're doing, another thing, like what Carmelo just said. If you're doing a job interview or you're talking to someone, you're not going to stand there for 25 minutes talking to them. You're going to give them as much information quickly as possible and keep it moving. What did you learn?
I learned that you can have fun while being distanced.
Well, that's true. This is one of the few places that, we're kind of distant and we talk about a lot of topics. We express ourselves in many ways. So it is one of the I try to make it one of the places where we have fun at because you guys get to express yourselves. Anything else we learned about podcasting?
It's harder than you think.
Oh, okay. It's harder than you think. When I gave you guys total control, how do you feel about it? Because you guys had control for the sound. The only thing that you didn't control was the pad because we never got to the part where you guys were controlling the pad. But when you guys control the topic and you were the host and you had your own sound effects, how do you feel about doing the podcast then?
It was hard.
It was hard. What was the hardest part?
That you're not used to it, and for me personally, I've never done a podcast, so it was a little hard for me to host because I didn't know everything. But
it was just I saw from you guys
it
that
needs
it was
practice.
Not only that, it was hard for you guys to stay on a subject. It just started jumping all around the place. And one of the things in the lessons that I told you was try to stay on the topic, try to build on the topic, try to ask questions about the topic to each other, and get as much information as possible. And it's almost better to have a 9-minute podcast than a 50-minute rambling podcast.
Yeah.
Because you get the information quickly, the person gets to hear it, and then hopefully
they don't waste a lot of time.
Yeah, hopefully we get a lot of likes or views, and then they'll listen to another podcast because you don't want to bore them one time
and we become famous.
Well, you're not guys gonna become famous because you only got 14 listens or something like that. You guys are not doing your work.
What about you?
Well, I have a lot of listens. I mean, altogether, if I'm in the podcast, when I first started this, obviously there was nobody listening. And I think now we have 4,500 and something listens. So it's a lot of listens, but no thank you to you. You got like 10 listens. Between both of y'all, you should each have at least 10 people that can listen to the podcast.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the 5. I'll take that. Yeah, so it's important not only, I mean, it's also like for YouTube. If you guys are going to become YouTubers or you want to put a video up, what's the reason why you want to put up these YouTube videos? Is because you want people to view them, right? You want to have views. You want to be like, oh, I got 1,000 views, I got 10,000 views, or whatever.
1 million.
But the thing is that you have to shop it around. The only reason we got 4,000 views is because Mark will tell you on the regular. I'll speak to people and I'm like, hey, do you listen to the podcast? And do you listen to the podcast? And I hound you until you listen to the podcast. And even if I have to put you on the podcast so you can listen to the podcast, that's what I got to do. So, that's the way I do it. I hound people until they listen to it. And I do it all the time, constantly. If I'm walking down the hallway on a regular after school, I'm hounding you. Yo, you got to listen to the podcast? Come on, man. I put signs up in every floor. I give people pamphlets. I give you everything that you can so you can't say, oh, I didn't know about it. So that's what I do. So you have to market. That's part of marketing. You have to market yourself.
So most of the people that hear it are from here?
No, actually not. We have I think it's 48 different countries and about 45 different states. So we have other countries listening to the podcast. So actually we have more countries than people in the United States. So it's global. I have people in Japan listening to it. I have people in Santo Domingo listening to it. I have people in Puerto Rico listening to it. If I know you and you're from Iowa, you're listening to it. I'll call you. I'm on Facebook sending people, yo, here's a link to my podcast. And my sister sends it to another person and so forth and so on just to get listens. I mean, the idea is so that people can listen to what you guys are talking about.
When what's the country that has the most people listening to the podcast?
United States has the most. We have 84%. But if you tell me a country and I can tell you if they're listening to it. I know most of them by heart.
Australia.
Yes.
Africa?
Yes. In Africa, we have a whole bunch. We have Egypt. We have Kenya. We have a whole bunch of people.
That's cool.
Who else?
What's your most viewed video?
Right now, the most viewed, well, not video, a podcast. The most viewed podcast is the one that we did called Old Town Road. I think the younger kids did it at the beginning of the year. They probably have like 1,100 listens. So they have a big bulk of the 4,000. But that crew, they ship that bad boy around. The aunt listens to it. Their sisters listen to it. People constantly keep listening to it. I guess the name is a big difference. Old Town Road, it was really hot when we did it. So the younger kids listening to it. So people are always listening to that podcast. The second one, I think, is the one I did with our executive director, which is Mr. Dan Quintero. That one has a lot of listens too.
Oh.
But those are that's more of a Kips Bay, Kips Bay thing. So, he probably sent it to a couple of executives and the board probably listened to it and stuff like that. So that's why maybe his has a lot. Plus, I did his podcast right before we started work again. And it was about the pandemic and how we're going to do these things and how we're going to change and so forth and so on. So it was an information podcast too. So maybe that's why that one's a little well known. But what else? What else we learned about podcasting? There's a lot of things. I mean, we had 7 weeks. Every week we had a lesson.
Not to slam the door when we're in the podcast.
Well, we shouldn't be having. Normally, we don't have more than 4 people in the podcast. But because the way we're situated now, we have you guys in a room and the in and out. Once the light's supposed to turn red and we're basically we're recording, nobody should be in and out. There should be no bathrooms. There should be no water. There should be nobody coming in late. So forth and so on. So that's important also because every sound comes out in the podcast.
Yeah.
So you guys have to be aware that you slammed on the table, you moving in your chair, all those sounds come out.
And I have a question.
Of course.
Can we talk about what we learned in your other class, photography?
Yeah, we could talk about that. I had 2 classes this year. So I had podcasting, my first year doing that. And this is probably my 3rd year doing photography. So in photography class, because I had you guys also, what's something we learned in photography class?
The rule of thirds.
Okay, the rule of thirds.
That some cameras look smaller, but they're still the same.
Yeah, they have a lot of the same qualities.
Yeah, and like some of them look better and bigger.
And
like
they have
for a
different uses.
professional, but they're the same.
Yeah, they have a lot of the same dial-ins, or as we could say, they have the same functions like manual and priority and stuff like that. So you could dial in, like the cameras that you guys use compared to the one that I use. It's kind of, it's also in the same company. It's made by Canon, so a lot of the stuff is similar. But it's better than using iPads. It was a little more professional. You guys had to, put it in different settings and stuff like that. So it was real important that you guys start learning that. Because eventually, we'll start using the big cameras, but that takes some time to learn.
Yeah.
What's up with you? Why you're not talking? Because it's not your topic? What you learned in photography this year?
The different functions on the camera, how they work different.
Okay. Give me an example of one of the functions you learned.
Or like auto.
No, it is.
Come on, man. What are you talking? The brother's talking now.
What you call it? The little running man thingy.
Okay.
Action.
Okay.
Sometimes they use it for like things like, for example, Becker bouncing a ball like in gym. So it's like for someone moving.
Yeah, for movement.
And then SCN is like for like a still picture or something.
For portrait. Okay. So that's important. You learn those aspects of it. Anything else you learned, Carmelo, in photography?
Another thing I think that I learned in photography is like different ways of like forming the camera when taking a picture.
Different frames?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned not to use auto.
Well, yeah. Auto's,
Not that good.
I mean, auto's okay. Don't get me wrong.
But it
The
does
cameras
like
have
other
it
things
there.
for you.
But if you're doing a photography class or you're trying to learn how to focus or use the camera, auto's not the way to go. Anything else? Anything else you want to talk about? I mean, there was a couple of lessons that we had to skip because of the way we were doing either a trip or the scientist guy came. So there was a couple of classes that we didn't get to. Actually, my lesson plans. Yeah, my lesson plans were like 10 lesson plans, and I think we got through like 7 or 8 of them, which is fine. I mean, as long as we were learning something and it was educational, but at the same time some type of fun, I'm good with that. I think my boss will be happy.
Bill Guy, the science guy.
Yeah. As for the podcast, we put up about, I think, 17 or 18. I think you guys did 5. So you guys have the highest. So, I'll give you something for that. I'll give you a little clap for that. Drop the bomb for you. So you guys also put out in one day, we did the trifecta. We did 3 podcasts, which was dope because we got 3 podcasts in at 3 different topics in 45 minutes.
How many is the most podcasts you ever put up in a day?
Or
From one group? Hours?
Yours. Because I never had groups before. I just had people walking in, like the period ends, and you want to do podcasts, and another group comes in. So yours is the only group that put up 5. I think there's another. I think Loudy's group put up 4 or something like that. You guys put up 5. So that's pretty cool.
6.
So you did your work. I'm not saying that you didn't do
6.
your work.
Have you ever done a podcast with a actual celebrity?
Well, we did one. It's actually it's one of the older ones, but Miss Lyons was here. She was a country star, and she came to do like a little concert and promote one of her albums that's coming out. She's done it before. She's been here maybe 2 years ago. She's a friend of Kiss Bay, and she wanted to come through and give you guys like a small concert and all that stuff. So hers is long also. It's about an hour and a half. But it was really nice because we had people, ask her questions. She performed. There's actually a video on YouTube also, like a short snippet of what we did, and she sang live. So that one is if you want to listen to one of a more professional person, that's a good one to listen to, because you can see that she carries herself differently. Like she's been on the radio before. She's interviewed her. There people have interviewed her before. She's done a lot of concerts. So the questions that are asked, she knows how to answer them and how to lead to something else. So
what's the video called on YouTube?
I think just go on the Kips Bay Digital Arts, and I know her name is Lyons. I'm sorry, but I forgot her.
Like the snip thing.
Yeah, well, just go on YouTube on Kips Bay Digital Arts. You'll see that it says Country Star, Miss Lyons or something like that, and you could look at it. If not, I'll send you I'll give you the link before you guys leave. But that's probably one of the most famous persons here in the boys club that I've done. Anything else?
I don't think.
What do you mean you don't think? Stop not thinking. It's my
That's a
crickets when you
weird
don't
sound.
think. It's crickets. You never heard crickets before?
In DR.
In DR don't have coquis, or they have crickets? I know in Puerto Rico they have coquis, and those things make a lot of noise at nighttime. What else? Is it?
Yeah.
You're done?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm done too. I don't like your attitude today.
Okay, bye.
I'm out of here though.
Bye.
Check. 1 2 1 2. Check.
All right, we had a great summer. We're out of here.